Good evening, everybody, and a very hearty welcome on behalf of Team Safemango and Parent Off to this parent orientation regarding Safemango, an initiative by Parent Off. My name is Rajeshri Das, and I'm going to be your host for the evening. Let me quickly take this opportunity to introduce our facilitators for this evening with all of you. First and foremost, this evening, I am joined by Mr. Swaroop Madhavan, CEO, founder of Parent Off. Sir is an alumnus of IIIT Bangalore. He's a serial entrepreneur, a behavioral data scientist, and a performance coach to over 120 plus Fortune 500 companies. Good evening and a very warm welcome to you, Swaroop. Next, we are joined by Ms. Shobha Managoli. Shobha ma'am is an alumnus of NIMHANS and is an accomplished author and a child psychologist with 30 plus years of experience. Today, these two will be our facilitators for the evening who will take us through the vision and purpose of Safemango and specifically talking about a very burning issue, which is screen addiction amongst children and how we can all handle the situation with our children. So over to you, Swaroop and Shobha ma'am, to begin the session.
Thanks a lot, Rajeshri. Yeah. All right, first of all, just wanted to say good evening to each one of you, right? Glad that on a Saturday evening, I know with a very short prompt that all of you have joined. I would gladly love to take this opportunity to also thank the principal, Ms. Anu Reddy, for onboarding Safemango as a mental health partner with school. So one of the key reasons of building Safemango, for me, Shobha, the entire team, that is Rajeshri Das, and my partners, Mr. Dhananjay and Dr. Manohar, was when we looked at what we looked at, and through my experiences, I felt mental health, which is the basic foundation of a child's success, today is underserved, right? Because starting an alarming statistics started coming in with the number of children going online, with India having the highest amount of suicides among children, going to very high intensity of mental health challenges today, to challenges through the current situation like that of screen addiction, through that of any form of anger issues, being bullied, and parents not knowing what to do. I felt there was a huge area that we could work with. Now, personally, a quick background is I've had about 20 plus years of experience, working with technology as well as psychology related, solutions. Have built about 3 successful companies till date. And Parent Off and Safemango is one of them that I'm very proud of what we're doing with the social cause. Now, the essential reason of why, we wanted to work with you and what was this, through my entire experience, if you could move to the next slide, Rajeshri, right? Through my entire experience that I, personally work with, just a minute, I think there is a music playing in the background, Rajeshri, if you were to. Yeah, thank you, right? Of all my experiences over the last 20 odd years, I've worked with about 120 plus Fortune 500 companies. I'm on the board of education institutions. I work with thousands of parents, looking at children's performance. Now, there is one thing that really was a huge concern and stood the testament of time. That was, anywhere that I went to and any person I spoke to, there was one key thing that we had to rethink the challenging behaviors today that children pose, right? There were a lot of examples that I got to where, I started dealing with issues where, the son's relationship with dad was completely changed for multiple reasons. There were multiple anger issues and the parents didn't know what to do. Screen time had become a huge issue and parents didn't know how to get the child off the screen. Children's academic performance was going low and parents were trying different things, but was not able to bring the performance up. And that was becoming a huge issue. The stress that the children were going through on the other side. when we started looking at it, and when we said there is an approach that we had to change, and we had to use neuroscience to get there. Now, what I'm going to do through this session is over the next 1 hour that we're going to spend with each other, I'm going to divide it into 3 different halves, right? The first part of this entire session, I'm going to be focusing on how do you see a child and how do you parent, the basic philosophy of developing a child from a neuroscience point of view. So I'm going to be presenting some statistics to you and some of the quick ground rules that I want to have through our discussion, right? Over the next half an hour, what I really want to do is I want to listen to your sharing. So at time again, we will have the chat open because I would love to take your questions. I would love to understand what you're thinking while we do this. And the second part of the session that we're going to get to once we do that is we're going to present through this partnership with the school what we are offering completely free of cost to you today, and how you can actually plug in and we can start working together to solve those behavioral issues. And the third thing, there would be an assignment to the end of it to all of you, which is going to be led by my colleague here, Rajashri Das, in terms of how you would get started with this process, right, of what we're going to initiate for the next 6 months. So for the next 6 months, our partnership is going to be that I would be and my team would be available. The promise that I make is every behavioral issue that is pertaining to or any mental health issue, it be it of cognition, it be it of any form of skills and abilities, which you're going to get to know. The promise from Safemango team is we are going to be here as your partners, right? To get into discussions with you at a one-on-one level at some point, and to have this, I think we are going to use with the school, we're going to work with you. And that's the promise that I want to keep, that the next 6 months, we're going to be partners in progress of your child. All right. Now, essentially, if you go to move to the next slide, Rajashri, essentially from where, and here is the first question that I want to ask each one of you, right? What do you do when kids don't do well? Now, here is the thing. With my question that I want to, get started with, and this is a question that's always, something that I would love to hear your insight. So you could open on the chat. Let us say your child is not doing well in math, right? Or let us say he's not able to learn languages well. Or let us say you have a problem with screen time. Or let us say the child's handwriting is bad. If the chat section could be opened, Rajashri, what I really want to hear from each one of you is what would you do, right? When children don't do well, what are you going to do? Maybe we'll just take about 30 seconds, and whatever you feel like typing, please type in, right, on the chat section. All right. Thanks a lot for your responses. All right. Just read a couple of them, which was very interesting, actually. Now think about whatever you guys have written to me, right, through this thing. Is it safe to say that, if you go to the next slide, Rajashri, in most of your cases, your responses were divided into 2. Either there was a lot of positive motivation that was happening, which I would call rewards, right? Or in some cases, there were negative motivations, which was more like detention, timeouts, punishment. So if my child is angry with me, if he shows some anger tantrums, what do I do in response? I would give him a timeout. I would ask him to reflect. I would go down and, punish him in some cases. Or let's say, for example, of math. Okay, let us take math as an example. Let's say your child is not doing well in math. All right. What is your default response system? Now, what I want you to do is in chat, I want you to just say either 1 or 2. I want you to opt either you as a parent go for positive motivation or negative motivation. Okay, 1, that is positive motivation. Thanks, Kishan. You can just share on the chat 1 or 2, right? Joy 1, perfect. Positive motivation, rewards, tuition assistance. And I want you to think about why you do what you do, all right? While you're answering this question, like this is going to aid to the question that I asked you. Children do well if they're motivated to do well. There are 2 ways in which you motivate them. Either it's positive motivation or it is negative motivation. Okay, is everybody able to hear me? Is there any challenges you can just share, right? Is everybody able to follow English, or is there any challenge? You can just put it on the chat if there is anything. All right, thanks for sharing. Now, I want you to consider whatever you guys have thought about and voted for, right? And a lot of you that who have shared personally as well, directing this answer to me, I completely understand. Now, here is the thing, right? Some of these questions, what I would want to tell you is, wait for it, because I want you to see through, how whatever, and there's a lot of descriptive answers that's coming through me in the chat, which I really appreciate. But I just want you to hold through, and I'm going to answer a lot of those questions as we go along, okay, in the presentation. Now, here is the thing. This is a default behavior. Think about what I'm saying, right? If you go to the next slide, right? Rewards and punishment is the most conventional wisdom that we've had. The fact that we've assumed that we are either ways going to be positively motivating or negatively motivating is this, that we believe children do well if they want to. If we motivate them enough through either rewards or punishment, either one or two, whatever we're going to choose, they will do well. Basically, if a child is doing weak in math, the best thing that we could do is give him a math tuition, correct? If a child's not doing well in handwriting, what do? The 4-line cursive writing book. Do more of it. So the conventional wisdom is, if somebody does more of something, they will get better at it. Yes or no? I want you to think about what I'm saying. Okay. There is a default pattern. So my child is looking at screen for a long time. Okay. Or he's playing games. I want to stop it. What do? Either I can give him something else to do, or on the other hand, I take his remote away from him. I disconnect the internet. Either it's a punishment or it's a reward. In one of these segments, we always fall into. And this is exactly why I'm here. My dear friends, that what I want to tell you is this conventional wisdom is exactly what's stopping your child to thrive to his full potential. That this philosophy of motivation, either through positive or negative reward system, whatever you do, but the approach that we have essentially, that is children do well if they want to, is exactly what we're here to change. Because the real fact that we wanted to get to, Rajesh, if you could move to the next slide, okay, is this. What neuroscience over the last 50 years of research has proven time and again is this. Children do well not if they want to, but very simply if they can. Children do well if they can. And think about what I'm saying. All right. Take, for example, this. Let us say, and I want to put this statement to some, what we call scientifically some form of a test, right? To prove that this theory works. Let us say your child is weak in math. What is the default behavior that we go with? When, consider even to my own son, right? If he's weak, when he's weak in math, the first thing that comes to me is I need to give him more tuitions. He goes to tuitions. He's going to do more of what he did before. And have you guys observed that there may be some incremental improvement with what he did, but over a period of time, let's say he still does not perform well. What do we do now? We start talking to teachers, we start changing tuitions, we start giving different books, but the mark still goes in a certain plateau. Now, essentially for the child, this is what's happening. And I want to give an example and think about this, that I'm teaching fractions, right? Fractions, the concept in math. I am writing 1/2 on the board. Now, if the child cannot visualize that 1/2 is equal to 50% and 50% of this room is this much. If the child cannot visualize 1/2, or what I'm saying here is an ability, what I would call a visual spatial reasoning. If the child does not have this ability to reason through visual spatial means, the child cannot perform. He cannot understand the concepts of fraction. Okay. Now, no matter how much of theory of fractions you're going to give, this ability, which is a neuropsychological process, has to be developed. Okay. Now, also I'll take different examples to explain this. Let's talk about handwriting. Do you know 90% of illegible handwritings, or bad 92% of illegible handwritings, are primarily because the development of wrist finger speed and finger dexterity are not complete. Now, if the wrist finger speed or finger dexterity is not improved, or the tripod grasp, one of the ability is not there, no matter how much of 4-line book you're going to give to the child, the more he does it, the results are not going to change. Because it's not about what he does, but his capability that matters. Think about this, right? Let us say you take about 10 children, you give them let's say you want to teach them fraction, again, going back to the thing. You give them the best of content, best of teachers, best of whatever coaching. Can I safely say, after 1 hour, if I were to conduct a test, every child is going to score differently? Think about this, right? Every child who's sitting there, all the 30 or 10 or 20 children are going to score differently. The same teacher, the same experience, the same maybe audio-visual content, whatever you want. Why is it? I teach handwriting to all the children, but every child writes differently. Why is it? I want you to think about it. The reason is very simple. The neuroscience has answer to this question. And that is, every child is at a different level of skill or ability to consume what you're teaching them. While they have the knowledge to consume it, if they don't have the learnability or the skills and ability required to process it, it's like the software. Nothing works. So it doesn't matter. I'm sure while you're growing up, right? And I mean, more than parents, I want you to go back when you were children. You've had these children in classrooms that they could just listen. They don't even have to study, but they score really well in exams. You've had friends like that probably, who don't really have to put so much effort that you do, but they perform really well. Now think about it. What was different with them? It was beyond memory. There are 3,000 plus abilities that are required for you to perform different outcomes. Now, these abilities are across different domains of your brain. There are psychomotor, which are your fine motor skills. There are cognition. There is behavioral skills. Okay. There is language and communication abilities. There are social and personal abilities. Now, across these 5 different domains, there are about 3,000 abilities that are required for you to perform well. So when I say children do well if they can, because the basic construct is every child wants to perform well. If you're having problem with children's anger issue, trust me, children don't like anger they don't like to exhibit anger as a very repulsive behavior. Every child wants to be a good child. A child who does not score well in school, think about this, all right? Somebody who's scoring 30 or 40 in math out of 100, do you think that child enjoys scoring low? Probably that child is the child who is trying the hardest to perform well. Now, the reason that the child is not able to perform is not that he does not have support to learn, because today there is another statistic that also aids to this. EdTech is growing, correct? Today, for you to learn anything, on a click of a button on YouTube, you can learn anything from the teacher you want to. Knowledge is available. But do you know, globally, there is something called PISA. Okay. These are global standards of learning outcomes measurement across the world. And there are 145 partner countries. India became a partner country to the PISA regime only in 2020 or 2019. Okay. Now, here is the thing. The learning outcomes of children over the last 15, 20 years is consistently falling. Today, basic division and multiplication, 11 years or 12 years are not able to perform. It's like this, right? Most competitive exams, be it UPSC, IIT, or CAT for IIMs or anything, it's a very basic multiplication division. Only thing is it's twisted in the question. You need to figure out what it is. People cannot dissect it because it's all memorization that's gone in. People's ability to understand critical thinking is not up today. Now, the reason there is the abilities are not developed, and abilities form the foundation. All right. Now, I want you to consider this, right? Think about it. Next slide, please, on this, Rajshri. Okay. If you're with me, if you're able to follow what I'm saying, please reply yes on the chat. All right. As I said, I want to have this as an interactive session. And I want to also understand if there are questions that come through, because as we go deeper into this, I want to understand that all of you are able to follow what I'm saying, right? So everybody, there are about 35 of you. Maybe just mark. I mean, some of you are marking just to me. Mark to everyone in the section and just say yes. All right. Because think about this. All right. When I say children do well if they can, what I really mean is their skills and abilities. They're able to master on their skills and abilities. Be it math, be it handwriting, be it screen time, be it anything, be it about how the child runs. Okay. Be it about how he sings. Be it about how he even understands languages, language being a very big problem for a lot of parents, right? Teaching children, they're not able to learn Kannada, they're not able to learn Hindi, Sanskrit, English. There are skills and abilities for it. Now I'll ask you a very fun question. Just say yes or no to this, all right? All of you know how to cycle? And I'll get to the fun part of this question. Do all of you know how to cycle? Just say yes or no. Probably some of you know. Okay. Does anybody here out of the 35 who don't know how to cycle? That'll be surprising for me. But I'd love to meet somebody who still does not know how to cycle. But here's the thing, right? Here is a challenge to all of you. So I'm talking about skills and abilities, but now let me make it personal to you. Let me get this now to the next level, since we've got it till here. Can you teach cycling online? Yes or no? Can you teach cycling online to anybody? Yes. So you can theoretically teach cycling to anybody. So that is, I'll give you a child. You got to stand, okay, be offline also, but you got to teach him how to cycle through theory. Is that possible? You can talk about cycling, all the theories you want, all skills, abilities, every gyan you can give him. Can you teach him? Think about this, what I'm asking you. The ability to balance, now that's an ability. Of the 3,000 abilities, static balance is one of the abilities. It's a gross motor skill. Okay. Balance, think about how you learned balance when you learned how to cycle, right? Probably your mom, dad, your friend, your brother, sister, somebody held the cycle behind you. You went cycling. Your body, through a neurological response system or a neuropsychological process, learned to balance. I can give you E equals MC square to every theory around balance and nothing will make sense to you. It'll all fly over your head. Because how do you can explain balance, but how do you teach somebody to balance theoretically? You can't. You can explain visual spatial ability theoretically, but how do you develop that ability? Abilities, now here is the trick of the trade. Everybody talks about skills and abilities like they're experts, but from a neuroscience angle, you cannot teach abilities to anybody. If your child is behaving a certain way with the screen, there are abilities like impulse control and self-regulation at play. Think about this. If your child does not know how to control his impulses, and impulse control is a skill or an ability, if that ability is not developed, if you're not around, the child's automatically going to go to screen time. So effectively, you taking away internet, he's going to get more smart to find other ways to get internet. Yes or no? Children are smarter than us. Trust me when I say this. We were smarter than our parents, correct? Think about our own growth. We always found ways. Okay. Reason is, the more rewards or punishments, either of them that you go to, the more positive rewards or negative rewards you go to, if they cannot, they just can't. Because the ability is stopping them from to get to the outcome that they want. Now, these abilities are not about theory. These abilities are a neuropsychological process. There is no shortcut to this. There is no magic pill to this. Okay. Now, this is fundamentally the point that I wanted to get to. And what I wanted to tell you is, we at Safemango and at Parent Of, which is the company that created Safemango product, we worked for the last 8 years to help parents solve this problem. Because the fundamental problem with any, and this is what I told you when I started off the presentation, right? The fundamental problem with unsettling, challenging behaviors is with the skills and abilities that a child possesses, and not to do with any tricks or traits that you get online. Every blog you would read online will tell you do this and don't do this. And we all know what happens, and I'm going to dwell deeper into it. But what I want to do, if you go to the next screen, Raj, I want to take about 5 minutes of your time and quickly play out a video for you, which actually showcases the technology we've built in ParentOff and Safemango, which today, from now on for the next 6 months, that you will be working on, and how you will be profiling and how you will be understanding. Now, this technology has taken us close to 8 years to develop. Today, we've been globally recognized and awarded for what we built. But here is what I am going to do. But for you, before even you use it, I think I wanted you to understand how this works. And right after this presentation or this quick video that we have for you, which is animated, I'm going to talk about screen addiction specifically as the first area. Now, every week and every 1 or 2 weeks, I am going to be personally with my team of experts working with you personally on different behavioral areas wherever you have a problem with it. I'm not saying that everything you will have a problem with, but wherever you feel that a requirement is coming in, we will have a team going in as a mental health awareness campaign on every week basis. And I'll personally be there to go down and take you through that path and for you to understand. And there are some tools that we've created that will help you accelerate that process. All right. So just over to you on a quick 5-minute video on how we make this happen. Rajeshri, over to you.
Have you ever wondered why some students in a class perform and score better than others, even though they were all taught together by the same teacher? How are some children able to control and manage their anger effectively, while others can't? Why are some children great at sports, while a few others are not? At ParentOff, we were curious to find out what distinguishes a successful behavior from a less effective one. A team of data scientists and neuroscientists spent over 96,000 plus hours of research to unravel this mystery. And what we discovered was against the very common belief that it is only genetics that plays a primary role in development of a child. While that is true, a major portion of success was in how these children developed super abilities over a period of time. What's more interesting was when our data showed that they weren't just born with these, they acquired it. We also found that the key to creating these super abilities in children lies in understanding and developing a strong basic architecture of the brain during the formative years. This is the age when neuroplasticity, that is, the ability for the brain to reorganize and adapt, is the greatest. During this important period of brain development, billions of brain cells, called neurons, send electrical signals to communicate with each other. These connections form circuits that become the basic foundation of a person's brain architecture. With kids forming over 1 billion new brain connections every second, a network of these interconnected circuits form the basis of what we call abilities. The ones that are not used get weak and disappear. The ones that are reinforced become stronger. We build the stronger connections, which is why we call them super abilities. Let's take an example of a child learning the concept of fractions in maths. While the teacher teaches the concept of 1 by 2, if the child is not able to visualize that 1 by 2 is equal to 50%, and 50% is half of the room that he is sitting in, there is no way that the child would master the concept of fractions or any further concepts connected to it thereon. So in this case, the super ability of visual spatial reasoning made all the difference in how this child learned and understood what was being taught. With this ability, not just fractions, but a whole lot of other concepts, from geometry to geography, became fun to learn as they no longer depend on memorization. Similarly, imagine a child trying to control his screen addiction without the super ability of self regulation, or a child trying to improve his handwriting without having the super ability of arm hand steadiness. This means the key to master anything is to master the super abilities and skills associated with it. However, every child is unique, and so is the neural network, which means to develop a child's super abilities, it is important to discover the uniqueness of their brain architecture. Our state-of-the-art platform helps us unlock this hidden pattern across 100 plus abilities and skills, thereby unraveling the neural circuits that are stronger and weaker. And all of this in just under 7 minutes. We do this by collecting real-time data of the child across multiple parameters of growth and development, such as academics, behavioral, and health. The quantum
You
of
could pause,
data
Raja.
is then used by our neuroscientists and machine learning experts to develop interventions that can accelerate nurturing stronger connections and developing the weaker connections. With over
Yeah, if we could move on to the next slide, right? Just here.
Just give me a moment.
have you ever wondered why some students in a class
Just 1 minute.
Now, while the screen's getting shared, I want you to consider what was spoken right now. Because if children do well, now the core philosophy that we spoke about, children do well if they can and not if they want to, because that's the core philosophy of every work that we have done. And through this, what I want to do is actually go down and say, welcome to Safemango, right? Now, the key here that we do is just two things for you. A, every child is unique. Now, what fundamentally I believe in and my team believes in is every child is a genius. Genius in what is the $1 million question. How you identify that geniusness and nurture it is the essence of parenting. Think about what I'm saying. Okay. Now, every child is unique. There is no one rule fits all right? How one child learns a concept is not the same way the other child is going to learn. How one child processes an information is not the same way the other child is going to process. It's the same information, everything same, but every child is unique. Now, the key here, the first thing and the first step that we always got to do, and which we will help you do in Safemango, is first identify the skill gaps of why your child is not able to do. It's always this, right? It's the skill and not the will that matters. Why is your child not able to do what he does? And that finding is through simple questions. So what happens is once the app is given to you, which of course, the last 10 minutes of this, Rajesh Das will exactly show you, because all of you will get a link which you will access. And over the next 1 week, we would want to hear from you about a behavior like screen addiction is the first thing that we want you to talk about if that's a concern. We want to hear from you and we want to see, and the engine would see rather, what's the data points, what are the skills and abilities. And we have a way. Today, our knowledge partner here is NIMHANS, National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences. In fact, the engine is certified and we are certified by NIMHANS to do what we do. All right. Where we will be able to, in under 7 to 10 minutes of your time is what we would require to get into identifying those skill gaps. And you will be wowed and surprised. Trust me when I say this, when you get to the report, probably a demo will happen right to this session where you will see what all can get uncovered in a span of about 7 to 10 minutes for you about your own child. That, because here is a fundamental thing, I think, why this is important, right? For us, our children are our children, and everything they do, we have a way of looking at it. I'm not saying it's negative or positive, but I'm just saying as parents, when you take the responsibility of a parenting, there is only one way that you look at your child. a lot of hidden patterns is something that you probably in general, you're not trained to look at it. Okay, there's a lot of expertise to observe and deduce. Most of our deduction will be our own experiences. Now, that's exactly why professionally there is a skill identification that happens. Because as I told you, it is about nurturing that specific geniusness that happens. And the second part of it, as I told you, an ability, right, requires play to develop. There is a play curriculum that comes to you to, change the behaviors. And I will tell you the testimonies that we have around the corner, at least about 300 plus testimonies that can be shared with you, which are live videos of parents and children. Screen time, for example, we've been able to reduce screen time of children by about more than, because screen time is not the problem, but over obsessive compulsion with screen is the problem. We're able to reduce it by 2 to 3 hours a day. Over 70 to 80% growth. We've had children, issues like the child does not want to do assignments, from handwriting, you name it. We've seen math scores too. We've been sometimes surprised with what's been possible, because all that shifted was the ability developed automatically. The child started learning, right? Because the key is this: when you develop that visual spatial ability as an ability, I was talking to you about fractions. Think about what all is possible. Geography as a subject, geometry in math as a subject requires visual spatial reasoning. Once that ability is developed, the way the child can consume and make sense of any knowledge is humongous. Okay. Now, essentially, with this particular idea, let me now step into the point of the first week of the work that we're going to do. At this given point, if all of you have got what I've said, please in the chat, just say, you've got it, or I agree. Just say I agree, right? So I will be able to move to the next slide. Once I have a feedback from you that you've understood till now what I've spoken about, just say I do, and we'll move in. Thanks, Anusha. Thanks, Archana. Thanks, Kishin. Thanks, Joy. All right. Thanks, Mr. Kumar. Now, moving in, now let's get to the key problem. The first problem for this week is going to be about screen addiction. Very interestingly, the last time I was doing a webinar, all right, with one of, again, a different thing, we had about 1,200 plus parents logging in. Now, to the end of my 15-20 minute work that I did with them, with their children, what I soon figured out is, with the most of responses, what people were sharing, it was also the mothers and fathers who were addicted to screen time equally. All right. They were addicted to Facebooks, be it games, be it some Candy Crush, be it some Fruit Ninja, whatever that was. They were addicted, and they were also trying to find solutions for themselves. It will happen. And as a part of the process, I want you to internalize it first, right? I think change always starts with us before it goes to children. And trust me, children do what we do more than what we say. All right. Now, talking about screen addiction, essentially, when you talk about screen addiction, think about, do you know why you're addicted to screen? And for some time, I want to talk about you. Let's come to children in about 2 minutes. Why are you addicted to screen? Can I tell you the answer to that question? Now, and this comes from my experience in the technology world. Let me tell you what you feel. Online, you win easily. This is the reason screen addiction happens majority of the time. If you go to the next slide, Rajshri. The next slide. Yeah. Just the before. Previous screen, please. Lack of appreciation in real life, and adding to this, online makes you victorious. Now think about this. Okay. Let's take every form of online addiction. All right. Let's first start with Facebook. Facebook, social media as such. You see this mindless scrolling sometimes. You see people taking selfies to post online first. And by the way, selfies in teens, the research, 93% of content posted online is selfies, by the way. Okay. User organic generated data is selfies. Okay. Now, when people upload selfies, why do you think people do that? You would have seen your children do, you do, anybody does. You know why we do what we do there? You see these likes, these comments that come below. wow, superb, the likes that comes. Because here's what children feel. The more likes they get, they feel better about themselves. There is a virtual reality they create of themselves. Think about social media. Social media is designed around only one principle as a business. Do you know how Facebook or Google makes money, by the way? The more time you're there, they make through ads, they earn more money, correct? Very simple. It's like online real estate. Now, what will get you to come there more? That is the core business principle they design the entire website on. So one of the metric companies use is called average time spent by user. Their valuations, you see billions of dollars valuation. It's all about how much time a user spends. It's called daily active users, monthly active users. Average time spent by the user is directly responsible for the average revenue per user. This is the metric. Any IT product that you come across, this is how they're designed. They're designed for you to be addicted. I want you to think about this. Nobody designs an online product, even be it a news product, without helping you to be addicted to it. Addiction is the core. Business revolves around your addiction. In other words, they make it a habit for you. And they ensure this habit becomes an obsessive compulsive behavior. It is a compulsive behavior. And as I go through this, I'm going to talk to you about what all compulsion comes. So let's talk about social media. Social media exists because you can like, share, and in a way, you become somebody. In WhatsApp, you want to share forwards about some health thing to others. Why? No. Of course, there is one point that you want to share with people, but the other side that there are likes and responses to it, which is why you want to be there. You want to have some kind of a connection. You want to have some kind of an appreciation. Now you talk about gaming. People who are addicted to gaming. Why are they addicted to gaming? Do you know? Games are designed for you to win. No game is ever designed for you to lose. Let me make my basic principle out here. Every point you win, every more those Candy Crushes or Ninja things or any of the advanced games you play, every child is addicted to the game because the game is real for them. And virtually winning is equal to winning in real life. Because winning in real life is very hard. Think about how many times you get appreciated on a daily basis. How many people come to you and say, wow, you've done a great job. Be it in your office, right? I mean, I'm assuming most of you work. And in your workspace, if you're working, how many of you, or housewife, right? How many times somebody comes and tells you you've done a great job? Vis-a-vis, how many times in social media, somebody will just give you a like button? Again, gaming, the reason is because you get more points, and children are addicted to that behavior because they feel like they have virtually they're winning more than they're winning in real life. For them to study so hard, get good marks, and get one time from you an appreciation, vis-a-vis on a daily basis, he can get appreciated and feel good about himself. Yes or no? Type yes if you agree with what I'm saying. Right? Just on the chat, just type yes if you agree with what I'm saying. Lack of appreciation in real life is one of the key reasons why children get addicted. Okay. Now, here is very interesting, right? Scientifically, if you go to the next screen, Rajeshri. All right. Now, there was this is a scan report, actually, what I'm saying. So some of the Chinese researchers in AI put two scans. Now, the right-hand side, what you see is that of an addict. Somebody who is addicted to opium, any form of drugs, right? And I'm talking about heightened drugs like MDMA, it could be ganja, it could be any form of, other drugs that you would see. The red marks that you see there is the indication of the level of addiction that's happening inside. Now, these are actual brain scans. Okay. Now, very interestingly, do you know, screen addiction also impacts the same area of brain? Over a period of time when your child is addicted to screen, there is no difference in the brain from taking a drug or screen. It's the same level of addiction. I'm not talking about other organs of liver or anything. And what this clouds is three important areas of your brain function: your decision-making capability, your emotions, and your self-control. The area of the brain that is required for these three specific aspects get clouded when you're exposed to more screen time. So, most of them say, my child, They don't even realize this, that there is a screen addiction, which is a reason why the child is doing what they're doing. They just see the behavior, and sometimes they come down and say, hey, my child's behaving this way, very irrational. He does not, I want to go out, I want to take him for a marriage function, but my child's not showing interest. He does not socialize. And I would tell you, to most extent, you'd be surprised. The root cause is something different. You will be solving a problem that you thinking that your child is not social or he is very introvert. No. You will be surprised that most of your assumptions are never the reality. The reality is something more deep. All right. And I will take about all these three aspects and explain what really happens, right? Take about decision making, for example. Raj, if you could move to the next slide, please. Okay. Let's talk about decision making, what really happens in decision. Have you, just the next slide probably. Okay, let me take this. What really happens to your decision making, right? Have you ever been to a movie? Okay. Okay. Have you watched either of these movies? Just type yes. The first one is the Fast and Furious, and the second one is this Yuri Surgical Strike. I'm a movie buff, right? I love movies. Have you ever gone into a theater and watched any of these movies? Just type yes. Any movie that involves some kind of speed or some kind of shooting around, just type yes in the chat. Yuri, yes, yes. I love the movie, by the way. You know. Okay, now here is what I want you to think. Imagine you watched Fast and Furious, this race movie. Okay, you sat in the theater for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. You watched this movie. Have you ever felt this when you walked out of the theater, when you stepped into your car or your bike to ride it? You suddenly felt like your motor skills have improved. Suddenly you're able to go with very good speed. Or you came out of this Uri kind of a movie and you started feeling extremely patriotic. When you came out, you're like, I remember when people watched the movie, they were crying at the end. They were all standing and saying, Bharat Mata Ki Jai in the theater. Have you seen this? What really happened? I want you to consider this. Mindlessness sets in. They stop thinking for themselves. What did I mean by, so your brain, and I'm going to go and do some experiments to get this deeper for you, but here is the thing. Mindlessness sets in for a child. They stop thinking for themselves. Now they are the actor. Everything that happened, there is a physiological reaction in your body to what you watched. Let us say you were at certain speed for a long time. Your body now as a momentum is set to that. Now this, in a visual world, what really happens to the brain, the way it works, like when you're gaming or when you're online, when you're looking at those scrolls, you know how the addiction happens? The decision-making part of it gets clouded, means the mindlessness sets in. You can't think for your own self. Think about this. The more time you spend on a game, let us say you go to the child and give him his favorite toy and you put on his favorite cartoon. What do you think your child is going to opt for? Put it in the chat. He is watching his favorite cartoon. You go and give him his favorite toy. Will he play his toy or watch the cartoon? And have you ever thought about why he does that? You know, his cartoon is playing, let's say even your parents come in, right? You think he even goes and acknowledges them? Why? It's not in the control right now. I want you to consider this. When you're scrolling Facebook feeds, YouTube short videos today, these days that's been trending, no, last 2 years, short videos, reels, what we call. You're not even knowing what the next is, but you're scrolling to find something. You're not making decision. You can't make a decision because the brain's altered right now. You can't think for yourself at this given point. No matter what you're going to say, anything, this skill ability is not going to perform. Now think about this further, right? The second aspect, which we spoke about, emotional. Go to the next slide, please. Okay. One of my favorite aspects, you know, emotional regulation takes a complete beating. Have you ever tried to take the remote away from the child when he is watching his favorite cartoon? You've seen the response, right? The child will negotiate, cry, throw stuff. Anything and everything that can work, he will try to make it happen. Yes or no? Now, just the next slide on this, Rajeshri. Think about, yes, angry. I completely understand, Anusha, where you're coming from, and we will help you with that, right? Think about it. All right. the emotion they feel with what they do online. When you're bored, what do you do? Today, and let's say Anusha or Joy, I'll ask you guys this question. When you're online and you're bored, what do you do? Okay, not online. You're just sitting somewhere in a marriage function. You have nothing to do. Your phone in your hand. What do you do when you're bored? Facebook, news, Insta. When you want to feel good about yourself, now I want you to track this, okay? And I want you to test this yourselves. You want to feel good, you know what people do? They try to play games where they can win. It's a default behavior. Excitement, I watch superhero shows, thrillers. Stress, I watch comedy shows more. I want to laugh now. Physical satisfaction, porn addiction, huge with children, by the way. We'll go to that a different section because that's a different problem to solve. Okay. Especially children in the age category of 11 to 14, extremely important to get to, because today it's available online, and that's an entirely different section beyond screen addiction that we would get to in the part of the next 6 months. But yes, because using screen time helps you to numb negative emotions. Now think about this. You can overcome your negative emotions on screen time. That is how products are designed. You agree? Please say I agree. We can move forward from emotional part. Your emotions get clouded at some point because your emotion support system is becoming something in the screen that you're doing. And everything you do in the screen directs your emotions way forward, right? Further to this, the next screen, please. The key here is, guys, you lose the self-control, and that happens. The third most important aspect of the brain that clouds with screen addiction is this. You cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imaginary beyond a point. Not that your basic brain architecture for you or me is designed around this. Let me play a very simple example with you. All right. Okay. Imagine I have a lemon in my hand. You all have seen lemon, right? Nimbu. Nimbehannu in Kannada. All right. Imagine you have lemon in your hand. So imagine this is a knife. I'm cutting the lemon into 2 halves. And I want you to see what I'm going to do. Okay. The next slide, please. I just cut the lemon. How many of you started feeling uneasy when I did what I did? How many of you started feeling, just say I did. How many of you started feeling there was a bit of that lemon taste? Suddenly you could relate to the lemon taste. Interesting. Why did you feel that lemon tanginess? Think about it. What if I tell you, was the lemon real? No. But you felt that? Okay, here is the fact of your brain. As I said, I'll be bringing a lot of neuroscience facts to you. Your brain is not designed to differentiate between what is real and what is imaginary. Your brain can't differentiate between what's real and imaginary. What is imaginary becomes real for you. And you want your world around that imagination. Now, this is what happens with children. With excessive, why they lose self-control is because when the brain cannot differentiate this, they make their world to be the virtual world. You see, children will come to you and tell you, Ma, I want that Ben 10, or I want that Pikachu, or I want that Peppa Pig, or that Disney princess ka bag. I want this cartoon bag. I want this pencil only. I want to wear this t-shirt with the Batman logo. You guys have seen this? What's happening? The child is attributing, of course, I'll go to the commercial aspect of this a bit later, but what really happens with more screen time is your child's self-control is also lost. I'm just giving one example where the real world becomes virtual. I mean, imaginary world becomes the real world. Virtuality becomes non-virtual for them. Now it's so clouded that they can't differentiate between both. It's like when you've taken drug, you start getting hallucinations. It's exactly what's going to happen with you. You can't differentiate your life beyond a point. Now, this is the key, guys, where I wanted to get to with today's session with paucity of time. If you could go to the next segment, is this. The key thing is things that does not work. You've tried this already. I'm sure as parents, you've invested your time with children. Stopping them from doing it, what do? They do more of it. They find Any rewards and punishments are like this. I can't learn math because I don't have visual spatial ability. What are you doing? Giving me more of math content, putting me through more tuitions, giving me, my handwriting is bad, you're giving me more 4-line books to do. Watching a lot of screen, what do? You stop them from doing it. What happens? Already you told me, Anusha, that there is anger, the first outburst. Or even, these children have very different ways of showing anger. Huh? There are some children who show anger. Some children have this silent beating. You all know what I'm talking about. Next time, because you've only suppressed an emotion. You're not dealt with the problem, which is primarily impulse control. One of that. It could be any reason why your child is watching screen, and that we will only get to know when you profile your child, all right? There is no one explanation fits all. But we will get to know this when you take the assessment, which will be provided to you. What does not work? Second, explain why not to watch. Now think about what happens when you explain why not to watch. I come and tell you why you need to study more. Beta, that you study well right now. Your 10th standard scores will be good, because of which you will get a good 11th and 12th college, because of which you will get into good engineering or good medical, because of which your life will be settled. You are giving an explanation which is logical of why he needs to do something, why he needs to behave well in front of others. You have an explanation of why not. The child always, you think why to and why not to watch will work. Yeah, that decision making is already clouded. I want you to consider what's already happening in the brain. When somebody is already addicted to screen time, by doing any of this, these are not going to work. Your rewards and punishments, forget about it. Because neither self-control, nor emotional, nor any form of analytical skill will be applied at that point, because they're clouded with it. Like to somebody who smokes, you just go and say, hey boss, smoking kills. You think smoking has reduced or ITC shares have gone up? I want you to consider a basic fact. Because somebody, when they're addicted, there is a physiological response. You see, if you guys have seen somebody who's smoking, you remove them the smoke, their hand shivers. Their body has a response to it. You've observed with any of your thing. Why is that? Your body is responding to something which is psychological, right? But hey, this is how the body works. It's not a one-way traffic. Everything's interconnected. It's a neuropsychological process. That's why they say that de-addiction is not as simple as that you walk and you talk to people and they're going to be de-addicted next day. Motivation works only to this extent. It's like this, right? These motivations, this is my biggest problem with these, why it does not work. There was this Shah Rukh Khan movie, Swadesh. It's like this. You watch Swadesh, you come out, you're like, I also want to do something for my country. I also want to go and contribute. You have this feeling, no? When you come out of that movie. How do you, like you watch Yuri and Kim, there was this patriotism. The problem with that, it lasts for about 7 to 10 days max. That feeling after this is Kallo Na Ho or Rande Basanti. Yes or no? It's a different movie. It's a different life. Those motivation, it's good as a pill, but it has a very small shelf life. Life altering requires different ability. And it all comes to neuroscience. So yes, I believe that their motivation is, but I'm not saying it's negative, but all that I'm getting to is that alone is not going to help anything, because they're going to go back to it today or tomorrow. What also does not work is this. Next slide, please. Dislodge and send them to play. I want you to think about it, right? The day you dislodge and send them to play, tricks and techniques, do tricks and techniques work on you? I want you to see, you will dislodge today, but if you've not dealt with the core yet, by just you closing your eyes, it's not going to go away, correct? Dislodge and selling, it's like this, guys. Always remember this. Manipulation does not work. Manipulation, positive or negative, does not matter. Is it fair if I say, when somebody comes and lies to you, say, let's say somebody compliments you, hey, good shirt, yeah, and you know if it is sarcasm or it's real, correct? You have a sense. When you dislodge, you thinking the child didn't know that you dislodged it. I can bring statistics to prove you that's not true. They knew you dislodged them from it. They're going to come back more aggressively to it. Yes or no? They will come up with their own versions of why they need computer screen time because they have some tuition going on. Trust me, they'll start lying. They will also become manipulative, and you will be wondering, why did he start lying, or why did you, when you realize it. But the reason is probably at some point you dislodge them thinking you've won over, but what really happened is they caught it. Manipulation gets, there is only one way, thorn with a thorn. They're going to get smarter to it. Yes or no? Because if you've tried it, you already know it. What I'm saying does not solve. Okay. The last, but not the least problem that I want to address, what not to do with screen addiction, is this helplessness, sense of resignation. Because this communicates to the child that while it instantly gives them the fine, they're like, okay, I'm with it and I'm going through it. After some time, they're like, okay, it doesn't matter to you now. That's definitely a state that I don't want to leave children at, where we've resigned to what's happening with them. Trust me, that child who's scoring low in math, that child who has a problem with handwriting, that child who, honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons, motivating factor for why, as Team Safemango, every person that you're going to meet, any person, any interaction that we're going to have, anything that we do what we do is because of this. But we felt a lot of us don't know and don't realize that there are some abilities at play, and what those abilities are, there are 3,000 plus abilities. And because we don't know, we don't understand it, we are not experts at it, it just happens that children who have that ability really perform well. Children who lacked it, which could have been developed early on, lose it. Right? This brings me to the point, guys, that the way we are going to do, the next slide, please, on this. Okay. The first step, the action that I want you to take is this. Right after this, you're going to get a link specifically only for your school, right? All thanks to Anuridi ma'am that we've been here to partner and actually do this with you. But you're going to get a link. Share it with other parents. I know on a Saturday evening, it's not easy for all of you who are there, but for all of you who've been there, thanks a lot. But here is what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. You're going to get a link. Rajeshri, my colleague, is going to take in less than 5 minutes. She's going to show you how to navigate the app. It's very simple, very easy. Okay. Please go register. And I want you to do your first assessment on that, right? And once you finish your assessment that's coming to you on the link that's going to be shared below, believe me, you yourself are going to see, and we will be open to a dialogue about the report that you've got and the action step the report has generated for you, because that will be, if there are 30 parents, all 30 will have different reports. Believe when I say this. So here is thing, next slide, please, on this. I would, leave for the next, maybe I'm going to take about 5 to 7 minutes max from you as a time space. I'm going to have Rajeshri Das, who's been anchoring, who introduced me back here on the screen. Just a quick, she heads the product at Safemango. She has 15 years of experience. She's a clinical psychologist. She was an assistant professor with Christ University. She's a national research fellow and an internationally recognized artist from the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. She's a very famous Bharatanatyam dancer. You can check her up on YouTube later for her dance shows. She performed last week in the famous Konark Dance Festival in India with the Padma Shri on the Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam. That's her specialty. But more than anything, I personally feel that her explanation and what she would take through, because this product has been designed by a lot of people who are passionate about developing skills and abilities in children, and we know what we're doing. So what I would request, Rajeshri, is if you could just spend about quick 5 minutes and take them through the product. Once you get this link, how you're going to register and what you're going to do, Rajeshri will give you a quick brief on that. But I am signing off from this point. Thanks a lot for this opportunity. Would love to take your last set of feedbacks before I exit on the chat and leave it with Rajeshri. But thanks a lot for this opportunity for me to speak with you. And if I've offended any of you by the statements that I made, apologies, not intentional, but essentially I want to state the facts as they are of what we've learned from, and we have data to support to a lot of extent what we're speaking. But you do. Thanks a lot. If there is any feedback, please put it up on the chat. But then over to you, Rajeshri. Thank you.
Thank you, Swaroop, for sharing those wonderful insights with us this evening, with all the parents, and for joining us this evening. Before I move forward, if anybody has any questions or any thought process that, or any feedback for us up till now, please feel free to share it on the chat. After this, we'll be moving quickly into the next segment, which is where I will show you how we can go through the assessment. What are the different types of insights that you can unlock about your child, and what are these special abilities and skills that we are talking about that you can unlock about your child, you can understand, and how you can help them work on their screen de-addiction, right? So quickly, I'm going to leave you for 2 minutes to put down your thoughts if you have anything on the chat. If no, then give me a thumbs up and then we'll move ahead to the next segment. All right. So firstly, what I'm going to do is I will put the link for all of you in the chat. And here's my request. If all of you can click on the link using your Chrome browser, and I will share my screen to take you through the onboarding process of how you can enroll into the Safemango app. So I hope my screen is visible right now at this point of time. When you click on the link, yeah, Swaroop, you want to add something?
No, go ahead. It's
all
okay.
right. Yeah, thank you. So when you click on the link, here's what the screen you will see, that you can quickly type in your phone number. You will be asked an OTP to verify, and you can move forward with this. I'm going to do it along with you guys so that it helps you to understand how the onboarding process is. And it's very simple, really. It's just very direct, straightforward steps. Once you enter the OTP and the phone number, you can select the class that your child belongs to. And the section, it's optional, but you can enter for a better recommendations that will give you based on your age, right? Basically, the whole app is customized to your child and specifically to the age of your child. So make sure you enter the details, specifically the date of birth and the class, very carefully, so that you get the right set of questions and you can assess your child properly. So I'm going to add a nickname. The nickname is just to personalize the experience.
So all the requests I have here is we don't need your child's actual name.
Yeah.
Okay. What we just need is a nickname, ideally for your child. So just give a nickname. We do not want any identifiable data of your child clearly. So all that we need is specifically the most important aspect here. There is no profile upload. There is just an image that you got to choose. And the date of birth, please be accurate, because skills and abilities are different at different age groups. Please understand. So there are, the app caters to between 3 to 16 years today. So if you're planning to take the assessment for yourself, don't do that. App does not cater to you. At the max, it can be 16 years. All right. So because each age, the developmental milestones are different, developmental psychology treats it differently. So the way we assess something is also going to be very different. So date of birth is the key here. Move on.
You need to enter your parents. The parents' name is important. The relationship that you share with your child. The email address is really optional if you wish to share with us. Even if not, you can continue with that. Once you log into the application, this is what you're going to be landed onto, which is the goals page. Here, like Swaroop was mentioning, that mental health issues are a lot that are right now currently present in this particular generation that we are seeing. Currently, the app is catering to 11 different areas. We have everything from anger management to being bullied to screen addiction, anxiety management, impulse control. And every fortnight, we are adding more and more issues which we can help you deal with and understand in Safemango. Right? So here you just need to go to screen addiction as one of your goals. And here you will see that there are just 20 questions, and this assessment is very simple. It's going to take you just about 10 minutes to complete this. You click on start assessment, and questions that are very particular to your child's age comes in. All you need to do is read the question and move the slider to understand or to answer whether it is on a scale of never to always. How frequently does your child show this behavior, right? So here there is no right or wrong answer. You can take your time to understand, think about what do you observe in your child, and please understand, answer it honestly so that the report that gets generated is done in a better way, right? So here you answer certain questions. I'm just going to quickly move through some questions. And now let me show you, once you have completed these 20 questions, how does the report that you're going to unlock looks like. Yeah, so here I've already taken an assessment for my child, and this is what the report looks like. So primarily, there are 4 sections of the report that you will be seeing. First is an overall scorecard that helps you understand the overall level of screen addiction that is there in your child. Then you have a section which is about what are the skills and abilities that your child is already doing well in, right? And this is the section that helps you understand till now whatever the little or little control that a child is able to have, what are the abilities that are contributing to that. Then you have the most important section, which is what are the skills and abilities that your child needs to improve, and I'll be taking you through in depth about each of these sections also. And your final segment on this report is a personalized growth plan, which comes based on the report that or the all the parameters that we have assessed for your child, right? So based on your age of the child, each of the parameters that we are assessing is different. A pattern that is unique to your child is being unlocked, and that is where the key to solving this entire problem of screen addiction lies, right? So here, as you can see, the overall score of the child will be there. How do we assess your child? Here you can see that every child has a neurodevelopmental pattern that Swaroop was talking about. And here we show you what are the patterns we have unlocked exclusively for your children, right? And these are cognitive, these are communication factors, there can be behavioral parameters, there can be even physical development factors that are contributing to your child's screen addiction. Moving forward, you get a skills overview to see what are the skills that are doing well for your child and what are all the skills and abilities that need improvement, right? So you unlock your insights here. And what's even more interesting is not just the skills that are that needs to be improved, but you get to understand exactly what is the behavior within that skill or that ability that needs to be improved for your child, right? Because for example, let's take here self-regulation for this particular child of mine shows it's at 49%. But again, what does self-regulation really mean for your child? And what is that 2 or 3 behaviors about self-regulation that you can improve in your children that will help them deal with this problem of screen addiction, right? So here you can see within self-regulation, one of the things that the child is not able to do is analyze the effectiveness of how to control their desires, right? Similarly, there is the skill of monitoring, there is self-awareness, and the child does not know once his or her personal responsibility. And this all of you can relate that when children have screen addiction, they're not able to understand that they have other tasks, other priority tasks to finish over spending time over screen, right? And this is clearly being shown as one of the behaviors that, at least in this case, my child needs to improve. You can see the overall skill score is this, whereas each of these behaviors are at these particular percentages.
If I may come in,
Yeah.
if I may, I think thanks a lot for this detailed review, Raj. So essentially, where I wanted to wrap, because it's the time and I get it. So I think what we got to do at this given point is you please take there is no fees involved. Again, let me repeat myself. For you to register, go through the assessment, but please stick to screen addiction first, because over the week that is what we want to profile and help you with. The workout section, we're going to make a video and send it out to you on how to access it. You can go through it. There are specific activities that will be recommended for your child to do at home, which once you start your workout, that will start coming in. Usually based on your assessment and your score, activities will get custom built, but we will get into it in a bit later, talking about how to make the workouts happen for you. But yes, this is where I wanted to wrap this session up. And please take this. So we have about 3 to 4 days time. A link will be sent to you also personally from the school in the WhatsApp group or as a message or on the email. Follow that. Share it with other parents who have not been able to join this session. Even this particular video link also will be given to you. Would request for you to share it with other parents in the group that you would wish to, even from the school angle, get them to take this assessment up. I'd love to see you guys next week. Again, staying back, I know this is going to be a bit more time consuming. So is screen addiction. Like, the positive of it is we are doing this online. as much as we're talking about screen time. All right. But thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Anu Reddy ma'am, if you're around already. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to speak with parents. And you've been a wonderful audience. Thanks a lot for sharing so much. I wish we had more time. That personally I could have attended to a lot of you and a lot of messages that have come quite unassuming. But thanks a lot for all of that. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Rashmi. Thanks a lot, Shobha.
Yeah. Thank you, Swaroop. Thank you, Shobha ma'am. Thank you, Anu ma'am, for helping us connect with the parents this evening and talk about screen addiction that as Safemango, as partners of mental health, we want to address with the parents. And if there's any feedback, any question, feel free to reach out to us on the chat, right? And like Swaroop mentioned, you will be shared the link to the assessments via your school itself. If there's any issue with us, you can always feel free to reach out back to us. We will share a support number also with us in case of any help required.
Thank you all. Signing off.